It is amazing how quickly we've evolved as humans, especially like a few of the last 100 years or so, as we're no longer shivving each other over different bits of land. Food is almost the one and only thing we actually have in common with Neolithic Dave the farmer and part-time stone chipper. Although we won't have much to talk about as Dave hasn't quite got the hang of TikTok yet, I think the one thing we would be able to have a great conversation about what he eats and how he likes to keep his food fresh. But it is actually one of the main driving forces in the creation of some of our favourite dishes throughout history. Dave's Norwegian mate would talk about his love for dried fish, with his mate Steve, who went on a gap year to 4th century Japan, who says fish and salt is the best thing since sliced bronze. However, whilst Dave and Steve are arguing, hiding in the shadows in the 21st century, they both collapse to their knees and start weeping over the greatest piece of culinary arts that has ever existed. The chicken tikka lasagna that can be ready in 17 minutes. This is the rise of the ready meals. One of the main reasons we were so obsessed with trying to preserve food is mainly because our favourite pastime throughout history, which was trying to rob, murder and invade as many neighbours as possible, because why not? Mass murder is actually quite an exhaustive and hungry process, as you might think. The one thing you don't really want to do is let a group of scary men with broadswords go hungry. A broken supply chain can actually completely cripple an invading army, which has been witnessed many times throughout history. Most notably, Alexander the Great, who would let his army starve in the Georgian desert because of a temper tantrum. Wars never went away, they just upgraded, like Pokemon. One of the greatest people in history who took this hobby to another level is the man who needs no introduction, just probably a chill pill. His name was Napoleon. The man who pissed every twat with a shiny hat off, and who famously invented the small man syndrome. Probably. With his wars spanning from Egypt to Belgium, it was evident that a new way to feed his armies were needed. This problem was solved in 1809 when an inventor named Appert invented jarring, which was a way to store food in a glass jar. The way this worked was by corking the food into the jars, which then included a wax seal in canvas, which was then boiled to create an airtight seal. Sorry, but just a quick message. Can you please like and subscribe, and also follow me on Spotify if you'd rather listen to these episodes under the name of Deep Dive Designs. Thank you, much love, bye. Even if it's something as pathetic as food preservation, we can never let those dirty Frenchmen win anything. We slapped back in 1810 with a Peter Durand, who invented canning. Canning was a staple of modern warfare and modern exploration missions, which were two activities we really outdid ourselves in the 18th and 20th century. Canning was a very labour-intensive process. There were 5 workstations: the blank cutters, the body formers, the side seamers, the bottom and top seamers. It was a way to easily transport enough food for soldiers and withering travellers, but you would have to chisel your way into some other unflavoured potential lethal sludge, until 1855 when the can opener was invented. Max Ames was the man to take canning out of rehab, as it was found that canning actually had quite a lot of room to improve, with a tendency of the welds not to work as they would break, spoiling the food, and the fact the food would already be harmful to eat because the welds were made from lead. Max Ames made the canning process a lot more robust, faster, healthier, and actually made it work. He invented the double seal in 1897. This process uses 2 parts of the can, the container and the lid. The 2 steam rollers are used to actually bend the 2 parts together, with the chuck holding it in place. This creates a tight enough seal to stop any outside contaminants from getting in. And it's all thanks to Max Ames you can now safely have a steak, potatoes and carrots dinner in 15 minutes anywhere in the world, even Luton, which caused the double seal can to absolutely dominate the market further in 1911 with the only canning you can really get. I think it's actually a travesty that Max Ames is not more well known, as the double sealed cans is something you can actually still see today. Max Ames was a true revolutionary, and it's a shame he doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, as he has such a cool name, which makes me think if Elon Musk had a name like that, he'd probably stop overcompensating by building massive rockets. Cans as well as moustaches and trenches were a staple of 20th century warfare, although wars definitely have their negatives about them, and they can actually be quite grim sometimes. At least you can enjoy a Sunday night dinner in the trenches with your dead mates in under 15 minutes. And that is truly beautiful. A unique selling point of World War II with war geeks is planes, which is actually the birthplace of ready-meal Jesus. It was quite tricky to whip up meals in a plane, so pilots and crew members enjoyed air grub. Maxon's Food Systems got the commission to design ready meals for transatlantic flights. William Maxon, the founder of Maxon's Food Systems, created the Stratoplate design in 1945. The Stratoplate was designed to allow you to cook and eat out of the same plate. The Stratoplate was an aluminium tray with 3 separate components in it, so you can actually keep your steak, chips and carrots all separate, and using flash freeze technology, which is a technique that rapidly freezes food to an extremely low temperature, forming small ice crystals that prevents moisture loss, keeping your plain turkey slightly less rank and taste fresh-ish. Aeroplane food came a massive hit, especially in the aeroplane food market, as aeroplane food actually beat no food hands down any day of the week. A staple in airplane travel in the 1950s was actually the culinary skills of each of the different airlines, as aeroplanes came more like literal Airbnbs. Maxon's Food Systems had its mega fans like General George Mayers, who sounds like he has one hand down his trousers while eating one of these. Unfortunately, there weren't more George Mayers in the world, as Maxon Food Systems saw their peak in the 1950s, being overtaken by copycats with better names, such as the grandfather of Captain Birdseye, Jack Fisher's. It also didn't help that William Maxon died along with his business, as his kids turned out to be as useless as a moral compass for Logan Paul. Although none of us choose when to die, it's a shame William Maxon died when he did, because frozen food actually was waiting in the shadows, waiting for its time to destroy the absolute horrors of cooking for longer than 30 minutes, and the absolute torture of washing some plates up. It got its big break in the 1940s, as it became a great option for the working woman, who didn't need no man and still had to feed their 15 children. It wasn't the perfect choice, although it was still food, and the food Jesus came as the TV dinner. TV Dinners was born on a Thanksgiving evening in 1953. The creation of TV Dinners actually came about after a screw-up when preparing food for Thanksgiving, as they had a surplus of turkey meat of 260 tons. This is the one day chickens are actually looking pretty smug, as it's the one day out of the year they're actually not being endlessly massacred. The two brothers behind Swanson's, Gilbert and Clark Swanson's, they designed an aluminium tray that separated the 3 delicacies of America: American cornbread dressing, frozen peas, sweet potatoes, and some meat, in this case turkey. The TV dinners prove that no one wants that fancy shit, and we just want to eat something edible in front of the telly. In 1954, Swanson's TV dinners sold 10 million units. This saved Americans a minimum of 300 million minutes, which they could spend on doing other creative things, such as trying to reach the moon or watching some very racist cartoons. What improved this convenience was the development of the microwave, as the commercial microwave went from an ugly robot that looked more like a crematorium for guinea pigs to the slick, sexy microwaves of the 1970s. Microwave dinners have never been easier to prepare, with dinners ready in 10 minutes or less, and all you've done is just press a button. Microwave meals exploded into popularity, especially due to the affordability of it. Swanson's advertised a meal for just 85 cents. This led to them becoming the staple of the average American diet. It also became a common tradition during the 1980s to pretend that you didn't know what a table was unless it was Christmas or trying to impress your disappointed in-laws. Dinners now are mostly eaten in the comfort of your warm, cozy sofas. In 1985, Swanson's evolved their packaging as well, keeping the 4 compartments, however changing the material. They changed it to a crystallized polyethylene terephthalate body with a clear polyester film to keep it fresh. This made it microwavable friendly and to help with our war against Mother Nature. In the 80s, Swanson's continued their run of good form and blessed the world with the chicky nugget, or its scientific name, the breaded chicken nugget. The breading on chicken nuggets was difficult to freeze. 21-year-old bacteriologist, which I didn't know was a job, developed a new type of breading that wasn't too greasy and tasted brilliant. Swanson mania was truly overflowing at this point. As you may have thought though, food is kind of disappearing from the equation here, as chefs are made more obsolete because of chemicals, salt, and way too much sodium. That was the case until people started to become little nerds about it in the 1980s and 90s and started to read those weird numbers and words on their packaging, because this made them question the fact, as they've never seen a thiamine monotrate in the wild. The 80s saw a rise in healthy living, and with microwavable meals having quite a bad reputation, it was thought that it might need a rebrand, as the convenience of microwavable meals was way too much to abandon. In 1985, Count the Calories meals hit the market, with M&S the true royalty of the UK, offering dishes such as chicken pizzaioli with noodles and fish lasagna, all for under 300 calories. Don't they sound good? The health craze continued into the 2000s, especially as the ideal body type was something that can be blown by the wind. And it was also official that everyone was terrified of microwavable meals, putting them into the nonce wing of the food triangle, especially as this was perpetuated with shows such as Super Size Me and Jamie's School Dinners, which if you're American and you don't know what the last one is, picture a man crying and a bunch of kids pointing and laughing. Making viewers aware of the rapidly increasing obesity epidemic, it did pose the question whether it may be worth actually cooking real food. It was found that chilled meals may actually be the solution, as it was a pretty chill guy, only needing a maximum of 30 minutes to cook and actually being a lot healthier and tastier than microwavable meals. In 2012, chilled meals made up 57% of the UK prepared meal market, with an estimated value of 2.6 billion, which is a lot of chicken nuggets. The 85-piece spaghetti bolognese microwavable meal dinner is now becoming the tiny fish in the giant ocean of prepared ready meals, with the big fish HelloFresh coming to eat them all and then puking them back up due to a certain event cause you not to be able to go out much. And us being even less willing to move than before, meal kits saw a massive increase, with the industry worth $1.5 billion in 2022. Chilled meals came as another big fish, with M&S crushing it in the UK since 1979, with its prepared chicken Kiev that is a winner chicken dinner every day of the week, especially on my birthday, with a side of pesto pasta with a clump of butter. And surprisingly enough, I'm actually quite skinny, but with my arteries looking like the Dartford Tunnel during rush hour. Although our beloved microwavable meals still have a comfortable throw to the budget freezer section of any major supermarkets. I mean, where else can you get a questionable nutritious dinner for around about £1? But the important question is, do they still serve their purpose? Would I rather die or eat a £1 lasagna? Nah, not really. I'd rather have a can of tuna, to be honest, back my boy Max Ames. However, it is very important to remember the Stratoplate, the first ever ready meal. What a shit name. But I hope you enjoy. Could you please like and subscribe? Bye.